Hey everyone and welcome. In this video we look at an article that shows how low and desperate these remoaners are to destroy democracy and go against 17.4 million votes for greed. It's titled, Save Us Michelle, Shameless Arch Remoaners Launch Shock Brexit Plot. Barnier urged to act. Arch Remainers have launched a shock Brexit plot and have urged Michel Barnier to act to wreck Britain's exit from the EU. Now, can we guess who these remoaning swamp fraggles are? Firstly, Scottish Anti-National Party, Ian Greedygit Blackford, and illiberal, undemocratic Sir Ed give the NHS £29 per day of tax money because, you know, clappy clap, Davey. Isn't collusion with a foreign power with the reason of violating your oath of allegiance treachery? It is, isn't it? How long do we suffer these vile, deceitful cretins is beyond me. Scotland people, if you let these fools guide you out of the union, you deserve everything you get. They will crush you. They are imbeciles. And we will finish off the job with the lib EU Dems and take the last 11 seats off them at the next general election. You don't betray the people and get away. In my opinion. Let's read. Both the SNP leader at Westminster, Ian Blackford, and the acting Liberal Democrat leader, Sir Ed Davey, have signed a letter to the EU chief Brexit negotiator, Michel Barnier, to support a Brexit delay. What's it got to do with him if we choose not to? Just a thought. They told Mr Barnier there is a significant opposition to the UK government's refusal to consider extending the timetable for talks. There is always an opposition to a vote, you moron. Oh my god. They want such a move to allow Brexit talks to take place when the efforts of national governments and the European Union will not be engaged solely with dealing with the dreadful lurgy epidemic. So they basically think that we're incapable of doing it for ourselves and we can only save ourselves with the EU lining the pocket. Sorry, helping us out. See the difference? With the UK having formally quit the European Union, talks are taking place between the UK and EU to determine key areas such as future trading relationships. They get a trade for free or they don't get a trade for free, that's the option. But with the transition period due to expire at the end of this year, Remainers feared that the UK may be forced into a no-deal scenario. And this is the problem, isn't it? Remoaners, not Remainers. Remainers are the ones that lost and accepted. Remoaners are people like Blackford that won't accept a democratic decision by the people because it's against what they want. It's not about Scottish people, it's about them. You gotta remember, this Blackford man has one of the highest expenses bills in the Houses of Parliament. But anyway, I digress, let's continue. If an agreement cannot be reached, the letter to Mr Barnier has also been signed by Plaid Cymru MP Liz Saville-Roberts, Green MP Caroline Lucas, well there's a surprise, eh? Stephen Farrer, MP of the Allegiance Party, of the what? As well as fellow Northern Ireland MP Colm Eastwood of the Social Democratic and Labour Party. They contacted Mr Barnier to highlight the significant opposition to the UK government's extreme position. This is what annoys me, to be honest, everyone. Extreme position. It's what the people have told them to do. But apparently to these absolute arrogant pieces of crap, it's an extreme position. The people's wishes are now an extreme position to these fools. We're living in clown world. Amongst the business community, the general public and elected representatives, not the general public at all. They're just going to want to keep it going forever and ever and ever and giving our money to themselves and the EU forever, don't they? It's like all of the people that are in positions of power are all subservient to somebody. I wonder why that is. Follow the money. The opposition MPs noted the Scottish and Welsh governments both backed an extension of the transition period, along with the majority of political parties in the Northern Ireland executive. You mean the ones that have been trying to scupper the referendum ever since it was put in place and we voted? You know, these are the people that we've got to listen to, are they now? I don't care what you say. I don't care what the EU say. We are out and we should be out and we should be out now, to be honest. The MP said a consensus is taking shape and we hope the UK government will soon recognise reality. It is now in all of our common interest to agree and secure an extension to the transition period. For what reason? What reason exactly? because you're scared the EU would pull off and not talk to each other about the lurgy? Do you think that's what it is? Because if that is the case, why do you want to be with them if they can just do that for no reason whatsoever other than we want our own sovereignty? These people are truly lost, in my opinion. They may as well just all ship themselves over to the EU and try and make it work on their side, because they're never going to do it on this side. But what say you, everyone? Do you think this is just more fluff and bluster? This is just anti-workers hatred, is it not? This is elitism, classism. This is, as we know, most, not all, but most remoaners are middle class because they can afford to be. They don't get to see the bad side of everything that the EU's brought to this country, and taken away from this country as well. So it's easy to live in a rose-tinted palace, isn't it? You understand what I'm saying with that? This will enable these detailed and defining negotiations to be conducted at a time when we hope the efforts of national governments and the European Union will not be engaged solely with dealing with the dreadful lurgy epidemic. Mr. Blackford said they had written to Mr. Barnier because he's a traitor, because time is running out until we hit the hard Brexit deadline. So they're never going to stop, are they? They're never going to stop. Never going to stop, these Remoaners. Even after we've left, they were going to keep going. I actually suspect these fools will still be wanting to rejoin the EU when the EU is no longer a thing. Am I wrong? I mean, it's just irrational, isn't it? I mean, look at all the evidence of how badly the EU's doing at the minute, especially with this lurgy epidemic. You couldn't handle it worse if you tried. And yet they still want us to be subservient to them. Makes you wonder what's going on, doesn't it? I wonder how much money comes these two people, all of these people's way from the European Union. I suspect it's quite a lot. I suspect they've already been bought, which is corruption at the highest level. I would actually like to see a full audit of all of their expenses and all of their incomes, to be honest, but it'll never happen, will it? He said it is vital that the Tory government does the only responsible thing and accepts a 2 year extension to the transition period. So, effectively, Remoaners and the EU want to keep us locked down for 2 years. Isn't that what that means? They think we've got this for the next 2 years. Crashing out with a bad deal or no deal in the middle of a lurgy crisis would deal a double hammer blow to the economy just when we will need all the help we can get to save jobs. Help from who? Ask Italy how asking for help from the EU works out. Ask Spain, Portugal. The list goes on. They don't help. They drain, don't they, everyone? We can get to save jobs, businesses and living standards. But he claimed it's increasingly appears the Tory government, oh here we go, partisan, is intent on taking Scotland and the UK down the path of a devastating no deal. Oh, I wish they'd stop bleating about this, to be honest. That would be beyond reckless. The lurgy economic crash is the worst in living memory. How do they know that? It's not even happened yet. People and businesses are already struggling to get by, and yet you're still calling for permanent lockdown until it's 100% safe, aren't you both? Aren't you both? The Tory government must put its responsibilities to the economy ahead of its Brexit obsession. That's why we want to leave now. That is exactly why we want to leave now, and then we don't have to worry about Brexit anymore. We can just get on with the one major task. But they want to split our ability across a wider board. Makes you wonder why, doesn't it? Polls consistently show that the overwhelming majority of people in Scotland and across the UK want to see an extension to the Brexit transition period. If you look at polls in left-wing media, you mean. And there is a growing consensus across political parties. It's time for the UK government to act. How did that growing majority of people wanting an extension, how did that work out when you said the same thing about the majority of people wanting to stay in the EU now? Oh yeah, you got hammered, didn't you? You winning in Scotland was irrelevant. But Prime Minister Boris Johnson remains defiant, with a UK government spokesman saying, "We will not ask to extend the transition period." The spokesman said the government was elected on a manifesto which made clear the transition period would end on December 31st, 2020. That is enshrined in primary legislation and it remains our policy. We will not ask to extend the transition period. and if the EU asks, we will say no. Extending the transition period would simply increase uncertainty and prolong the negotiations, whilst also leaving us bound by EU legislation and obliged to make further payments into the EU budget. And there we have the rub, isn't it? That last paragraph is exactly why these two traitors want us to extend, because they know without our money the EU is doomed. It's gone. It's finished. It's an absolute joke that MPs are allowed to go to a foreign power and try and usurp a decision by the people when it's the people that give them the authority to lead. Is it not? Let me know what you think. Do you think this is just absolutely disgraceful? Do you not think we should have laws against something like this? Because it is you going to a foreign body to work against your own country, is it not? I mean, what more definition do you need of treachery? Don't they swear allegiance on the Bible when they become an MP and gain a seat? Isn't that a big ceremony? And they pledge allegiance to the Queen? Yeah, well, these two and all of the others think it's acceptable to go against that. I do not, in my opinion. But let me know what you think. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit the like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell icon. Stay safe, and I'll see you on the next one.